Hey folks, happy Easter. Hope you're doing well out there. Welcome to a really kind of a short episode for Second and Saints. Just kind of get everybody aligned. This is really the purpose of it. Want to talk about April. Happy Easter, belated Easter to everybody. Really, it's April Fool. So be careful on everything that you see out there. You know, the fake accounts, the Facebook feeds, all that fun stuff. If it looks too good to be true, chances are it is too good to be true. But let's dive into a few things for the Saints because this is kind of like a, I don't want to say cool off period, but there's a lot of things going on that maybe we don't really see. But let's take a look at the calendar real quick and really just kind of get everybody familiarized with what's to come in the month of April because we know the draft is a big time. So, with new coaches in place, let's start there across the NFC South. The Falcons, they start reporting in their phase one on Tuesday. On the Panthers, they start on the 8th. So, those are a chance for those teams to get a little bit more ahead of the curve, if you will. They get roughly 2 week window ahead of new coach or ahead of existing coaches to be able to do things. And so the Saints, their first day is going to be on April 15th. That's phase one. Now, during phase one, it's very limited. It's not like you're doing a whole bunch of stuff. It's a lot of weight room stuff. And these are voluntary sessions, right? So certain players that are injured, they're not going to be able to participate. Obviously, in this one, and then with other players, this is a strictly voluntary thing. But we would expect pretty good attendance because this is going to be obviously a new offense to learn under Clint Kubiak. It's a lot of intricate parts and pieces. Guys like Rashid Shaheed, Eric McCoy, they've talked about their eagerness to kind of learn. But again, let's keep expectations where they need to be. This is strictly voluntary. And so it's a chance for teams to be able to start getting people in the building to do workouts. But again, strictly voluntary. Now you move on to the a little bit past the middle of the month. It's going to be the last day for top 30 visits on April 17th. So the Saints did have a local pro day. They had a lot of local guys that they just had an extended look at on Friday before Easter. And so now this is a chance for them to kind of hone in on their top 30. Now, this is important because they've had guys in the past that they drafted just last year. Jordan Howden and Kendre Miller were two guys that they had in for their top 30 visits that they ended up drafting. They had other guys like Devin A-Chain, other guys that have been on the radar. And so it's not like this is just a smoke screen or anything. This is a pretty big deal, a chance to kind of test them and to talk a little bit more, get them to the facility, all that kind of fun stuff. And so that's obviously the big last hurdle, I guess, if you will. And there's going to be like one last one before the draft hits to where they can just have the final meetings, whether it's Zoom or anything like that. So keep that in mind. But the big bread and butter is going to be the NFL draft. And so the first night, round one from Detroit this year, April 25th, Saints have the 14th overall pick. So that's what we're obviously going to be looking at. We'll talk more, obviously, later, me and Ross, when it comes to what the team probably will pick there. As of right now, I think it's got to be offensive lineman based off of the future of Ryan Ramczyk and the uncertainty of Trevor Penning. That's probably a safe bet right there. But I think the case could be made for maybe a tight end, a wide receiver, a Brock Bowers. Maybe keep that in mind. And then 45, maybe you flip it, right? And so I think that's something that you just got to keep in mind. Free agency is ongoing. And so everybody's got to remember that Foster Moreau was a May edition. Lynn Bowden was a June edition. Jimmy Graham was right before training camp. Trey Turner was a guy that they brought in training camp, and obviously that didn't pan out. But I say that to say some of the holes on the roster can be filled through that. And so keep that in mind. Guys like Hunter Renfrow that are still out there, needs that this team has. But round one, April 25th. Rounds 2 through 3, Saints only have the 45th pick as of right now. Now they could trade. I think when you look at their draft capital this year, you're not just going to throw a few fifths and get into the third round. It's just not going to happen. And so I think they're going to have to look at next year's picks if they want to get into that third round, maybe the fourth round, but we'll see. But obviously 2 and 3, a big deal on that Friday before everything kicks into gear on Saturday, with it being the long day. 4 through 7, those rounds, you've got all those fifth round picks, the compensatory picks that the Saints have. And so it'll be a big deal. And then as soon as the draft, I put this as post draft, as soon as the draft is over, you have all the undrafted rookies that you get. And that's where you start really finalizing and getting those finite pieces for your 90-man roster. And so all the guys that you've been scouting, that's where you get your Deontay Hardys, you get your Rashid Shaheeds. I mean, the Saints have had a pretty good track record over the years. Maybe not so much the past several years, aside some of the glaring hits that they've had, but this is where you get them. Maybe start seeing prominent HBCU prospects, smaller schools, whatever the case may be. And with the special teams rules changing a lot this year, I'd expect this to be a big emphasis on who they bring in too. So that's something to keep in mind. And then you go into phase 2 of the offseason, you get a little bit more work. And then when you move into May, that's one thing I put on here, even though it's April, but May 1st, last deadline for the 5th year option. 2021, you're talking about Peyton Turner. That's going to be like $13 million tag. I don't see the Saints doing that. Ross and I talked on Second and Saints. Don't really see too much that Peyton Turner can do this year to maybe say, oh man, we're going to definitely put a 5th year option on this guy. But that's an important date to remember. And then obviously there's a lot more that's going to happen. You got rookie orientation, or they call it something different, but like a rookie development program or something to kind of help these guys around. And so we'll get our rookie mini camp in May as well. And so that's a chance for us to see more. But that's kind of the April calendar for New Orleans. We're going to have a lot of draft talk here. Free agency, again, remember, it's not over with. It's just ongoing, right? And the Saints, it's with the salary cap, it's the top 51 contracts. So if you sign somebody for a higher deal right now, you just minus out the bottom and then make up the difference. That's where you get your cap space from. But that'll do it for today. Appreciate you guys taking time to tune into me, right? We're still growing. So I appreciate all the subscribers. Don't forget to like, subscribe, do that for us. We're going to only get more content on here. If you got suggestions for content, Ross and I are totally all about it. All the interviews. If you missed anything for the NFL annual league meetings or anything that's happened, check that out as well. That's going to do it for today. Thanks so much, guys. I'm John Hendricks for Second and Saints, signing out.